Welcome back to the channel, guys, and let's talk about this new APS-C camera that Sony is going to be announcing. Now, spoiler alert, apparently this one is going to be called the ZV. Now, we don't know what the number is going to be, but I'm assuming that probably Sony can call this camera the ZV-1000. Why not? So we're talking about the new APS-C camera that Sony may be announcing sometime soon. This camera is going to be pretty much an A6600 rehoused in a different body. So we'll give you all the specs, all the things that we know so far, all that information coming right up. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Gaston right here, and if you're new to this place, as always, welcome to Gaston Shutters. We do gear reviews, tutorials, behind the scene, and I've been covering a lot of rumors, so if you enjoy this type of content, consider subscribing to the channel. Make sure you enable notifications for more content like this one. And let's get back to the rumor, because after two rumors and kind of like two different, perspective of what this camera is going to be, I've been asking around to a lot of people. Also, Sony Alpha Rumors, have posted something, and we got two solid leads confirming exactly the same thing. This camera is going to be called the ZV, and this camera is going to have a smaller body than any of the other APS-C cameras that Sony has done. Now, the second thing that is very consistent is that we are going to see the same features of the A6600 in this camera, with some minor refreshments, but also with some features taken away from the camera. So let's talk about what this camera is not going to be, or not going to have. Well, the first thing that this camera is not going to have is an EVF. And this is the reason why Sony has been calling these cameras with no EVF a vlogging camera. So we start seeing a pattern right here, like I mentioned in the past video. They have done it with the Sony ZV-1, which is pretty much an RX100 Mark 7 minus the EVF and some of the new enhancements, product showcase, image stabilization with the gyro data, the active image stabilization, the bigger movie record button at the top. Then they have done something exactly the same thing with the Sony A7C, which is this camera that I'm using right now. Pretty much Sony A7 III rehoused with a faster processor, and again, the same enhancements that I just mentioned before, the flip out screen. That was pretty much it. If you had a Sony A7 III, or if you have an RX100, well, these two cameras that I just mentioned before were pretty much the same. Now, we are gonna see exactly the same thing in this situation. So all the codecs, the same sensor resolution, 24 megapixel, not 30 or 32, is what we're gonna have in this camera. And most likely Sony is gonna, go with this flip to the side type of screen. Now, if you ask me, I actually like the flip up because it allows me to connect stuff on the side without interfering with the screen, but different strokes for different folks. So now I'm gonna post this image. I created this comparison chart comparing the ZV-1, the A5000, and the A6600. And one thing that sticks out is that the ZV-1 and the A5000, they almost have the same geometry. The size of the camera is really small and compact. Now, everyone is saying exactly the same thing, that this camera reassembles more the construction of the A5000. So in my opinion, this one is going to be almost like a Sony ZV-1 with a detachable, mount system. So that's pretty much what we're going to get here. They are going to remove the EVF, like I mentioned before, and we may have, once again, the bigger movie record button, active image stabilization, gyro data, the screen that flips to the side, and some of the other enhancements that we already have seen in prior cameras. Now, how is this camera going to be different in terms of, quality of video and, still? Well, I think that the difference is going to be non-existent, because if they're going to be reusing the same components or the same technology from the Sony A6600, we're not going to have 10-bit in this camera, and I think that it is a missed opportunity to really, up the game in APS-C. Now, I don't have any problem with the 24 megapixel sensor. I think it's a brilliant sensor. I shot most of the videos of 2020 with that camera. I love the A6600, but I think the Sony should make this camera with 10-bit video capabilities. But I don't think it's going to happen based on what I mentioned before, that with the two prior releases, the ZV-1 and the Sony A7C, they simply have, rehoused prior cameras into smaller bodies, and that's it. Now, the other thing that I want to address is that a lot of people, were sending some of the comments from my prior video. Well, we don't need another vlogging camera. But the truth of the matter is that the fact that Sony, names them vlogging cameras, that doesn't mean that this is a camera from someone that likes to film, himself, herself, while walking. If you think about the Sony ZV-1, it's pretty much an affordable RX100 Mark 7. You have the same, picture profiles, you have the same, quality, the image is great. And same thing with the Sony A7C. If you enjoyed the Sony A7 III, well, the Sony A7C is the same great camera, with a smaller EVF and some of the enhancements that Sony has added to kind of like cater to easy, vlogging or easy self-filming. And this is, what Sony is actually doing. They're not intending to say this camera is only for vloggers, but what they're trying to say is this camera is easier to use and it has, great image quality. Just like, we used to refer to smaller cameras as point and shoot, well, Sony is pretty much using the vlogging statement to say, these are our film point and shoot cameras. So don't get confused by the term. These cameras are going to be powerful. The Sony a6600 still a great camera. And some of the things that we're going to see for sure is that gyro data. We're going to see the IBIS, with active image stabilization and some of the newer enhancements. Probably we're going to have the product showcase in this camera as well. I think that that's a pretty cool feature. Something that I would like to use here in the channel, because a lot of the times I got to make sure that I cover my eye for the camera to actually acquire focus on the things that are in front of me. So yes, it is not the high-end APS-C camera, but let me know what you think about this release now that you're getting a much clearer picture of the features and pretty much knowing that this one is going to be a smaller body. Let me know in the comments down below, guys, and until then, I'll see you in the next video.